The bridal veil tore with a deliberate rip as I stood at the altar's edge, my fingers, hidden beneath the cluster of white lilies I'd arranged, yanking the fabric just enough to send it fluttering to the polished marble floor like a fallen angel's wing. My sister's gasp echoed through the church, a sharp, wet sound that sliced the organ's swelling melody, while the hidden microphone in the bouquet broadcast her affair confessions to every guest. I did it because she was always the fragile one. Elena's voice crackled from the speakers, tinny and damning. Stealing him was easy. He saw me, really saw me. The congregation froze in stunned silence, pews creaking as heads whipped toward the altar, where my ex-fiancé David stood pale as the frost-laced windows. My bitter revenge unfolded like a scripted tragedy, shocking the room into a collective inhale that tasted of incense and impending ruin. She'd stolen my fiancé, gaslighting me into believing I was unlovable, all to claim the perfect wedding I'd planned. And now, in this moment, as her eyes met mine, wide with betrayal's mirror, I felt the sweet, acrid burn of triumph twist into something darker, something that whispered, was this justice, or just my own poison returned? I slipped back into the shadows of the vestibule, heart hammering like the distant thunder rumbling outside, as chaos erupted. Guests' murmurs swelled into a roar, chairs scraping against stone, the scent of wilted roses mingling with the metallic tang of spilled champagne from a toppled flute on the altar. Elena's bridesmaids clustered around her, their silk gowns rustling like whispers of accusation, while David stumbled backward, his tuxedo jacket askew, face crumpling as if I'd punched him myself. But I hadn't touched him. Not physically. This was surgical, precise, the culmination of months of simmering rage I planned in the dead of night, with a laptop's glow illuminating my tear-streaked face. As I watched from the dim alcove, a bridesmaid's heel crunching a pedal underfoot, I wondered if the cycle of betrayal I'd just shattered would reform around me, tighter than before. It had all started 6 months earlier, in the cramped kitchen of the apartment Elena and I shared, a space that once smelled of our childhood baking experiments, cinnamon and laughter, now soured by the rot of secrets. I was Emma, the reliable sister, 28, and fresh out of a grueling marketing job that had me pulling 60-hour weeks to afford our San Francisco rent. Elena, 2 years younger, was the golden child, vibrant, effortlessly charming, with a laugh that could disarm a room. We'd been thick as thieves growing up in our modest suburban home, swapping clothes and dreams under the covers after lights out. Mom had called us her dynamic duo, Dad her fire and ice, but ice melts and fire consumes. That night, I came home early from a client pitch, my heels clicking warily on the hardwood, expecting Elena's usual post-yoga glow-up routine. Instead, I found the door ajar, soft moans drifting from the bedroom like smoke from a hidden fire. My stomach dropped, a cold fist clenching as I pushed it open. There they were, Elena straddling David, my David, the man I'd been with for 3 years, the one who'd proposed on a rainy hike in Muir Woods with a ring that still felt too heavy on my finger. Her hair cascaded over his chest, their bodies entangled in the sheets I'd picked out during our last shopping trip together. The air reeked of sweat and her signature jasmine perfume, the one I'd gifted her for her birthday. I froze, the betrayal hitting like a slap, sharp, disorienting. David bolted upright, eyes wide with panic. Emma, it's not. God, this isn't what it looks like. But it was. Elena slid off him slowly, wrapping the sheet around her like a toga of victory, her lips curling into that practiced pout. Sis, I'm so sorry. It just happened. We were talking about you, actually. How you've been so distant with work, how he deserves more. Distant? The word ignited the motive that would fuel my revenge. Humiliation so profound it rewired my brain. For weeks, Elena had been planting seeds, subtle gaslighting over wine nights. David seems bored, Em. Are you sure you're enough for him? You're always so focused on your career. Maybe he needs someone warmer. I'd confided in her about my insecurities, my trust issues stemming from Dad's abandonment when I was 12, leaving Mom to raise us alone. She'd weaponized it, turning my vulnerabilities into ammunition. Now here she was, stealing not just my fiancé but my self-worth, all to orchestrate her perfect life. The wedding? It was my dream. Pinterest boards I'd shared with her in sisterly excitement, now hijacked. David left that night, mumbling apologies that tasted like ash. Elena stayed, of course. "Let's talk this out," she cooed, her hand on my arm, feeling like a serpent's coil. "You're my sister. We'll fix this." Fix it? She moved seamlessly into the role of the victimized lover, inviting David over for mediation. Sessions that turned into more trysts. I moved out to a dingy studio, the kind with peeling wallpaper and a faucet that dripped like accusatory tears. My savings drained on deposits. Friends sided with her. After all, she was the fun one. Work suffered. I botched presentations, my boss eyeing me with pity. The hurt wasn't just romantic, it was existential. Who was I without the life I'd built? Unlovable, as she'd whispered in my ear that first night, her breath hot against my cheek. But I wasn't broken. Flawed, yes. My trust issues made me obsessive, poring over old texts at 3 a.m., convinced everyone was a liar. Yet that resilience, the quiet fire Mom had always praised, drew me back. Readers, if this were a story, would root for me because I wasn't seeking mindless violence. No, my revenge would be smart, earned, a mirror to her betrayal. Moral complexity crept in early. Was exposing her right, or would it make me as venomous as her? The stakes were high. Family ties, my reputation, the risk of legal backlash. But the theme gnawed at me. Betrayal's cycle only breaks through calculated pain. I had to believe that, or I'd forgive and fester. The plan crystallized over sleepless weeks, sketched in an encrypted notebook app on my phone. Step 1, reconnaissance. Elena's wedding was set for St. Mary's Cathedral, a grand affair with 200 guests, our extended family, her agency colleagues, David's tech bras. She'd spared no expense, funded by her rising star in PR and David's startup Windfall. I volunteered as a florist helper through a temp agency, leveraging my marketing contacts to get in without raising flags. It was clever. Who suspects the girl arranging peonies? The bugs, tiny wireless mics from a shady online dealer, would be hidden in the bridal bouquet, capturing confessions during the dressing room chatter. I'd trigger playback mid-vows via a remote app linked to the church's sound system, hacked through a borrowed frequency jammer. Setback struck almost immediately. 2 weeks before the wedding, during the rehearsal at a nearby hall, I snuck in to test the setup. The bouquet was perfect. Ivory roses masking the device, thorns pricking my thumb as I wired it, a drop of blood staining the petals like an omen. But as I synced the app, a tech glitch hit. Interference from the hall's Wi-Fi, the signal dropping like a stone. My heart pounded, sweat beating on my forehead in the humid storage room, the air thick with dust and faded fabric from old decorations. Elena's voice echoed from the main hall, laughing with David about our big day. Panic surged. I had to fix it under the table during a mock toast, fingers fumbling wires while guests milled about, heels clicking perilously close. One wrong move and I'd be caught, my plan in ruins. It took 20 agonizing minutes, but I stabilized it, emerging flushed and feigning a heat wave excuse. The close call escalated my paranoia. I double-checked everything, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Escalation built methodically, each step raising the tension like a tightening noose. First, small wins. Anonymous texts to key guests. Elena's maid of honor, a cousin who'd always envied her. Ask her about the night in the Hamptons, one read, hinting at pre-betrayal flirtations without specifics. Whispers started at the bridal shower, a garden affair with fairy lights twinkling against lavender dusk, the scent of champagne and fresh blooms masking the undercurrent of unease. I watched from afar, disguised in a caterer's apron, as Elena's smile faltered when her friend probed. It's nothing, just Emma being dramatic, she dismissed, but her eyes darted, voice pitching higher. Bigger risks followed. I leaked a blurred photo to David's group chat, silhouettes in an embrace time-stamped to our breakup night. His responses flooded in. Confusion, anger, demands for explanation. Elena cornered me at a family dinner 2 weeks out, the dining room heavy with roast lamb and unspoken accusations, her fork clattering against porcelain. What are you doing, Em? Those texts. It's you, isn't it? Stop this. You're ruining everything. Her eyes pleaded, a flicker of the old sister surfacing, but I saw the manipulation, the way she twisted concern into control. Mercy? After you called me unlovable? I shot back, voice low, the words tasting bitter like oversteeped tea. Stakes skyrocketed. Cops could get involved if she pushed harassment charges, and family loyalty tilted her way. Our mother, frail from chemo, called me tearfully. Emma, let it go. She's your blood. But blood betrays. I pressed on, the plan's inevitability pulling me like gravity. The week before the wedding, tension peaked in a feverish montage of preparations. I rehearsed the trigger in my studio, the app's beep echoing off bare walls, practicing my escape route through the church's side exit. Sleepless nights blurred into days, my reflection in the mirror showing hollow cheeks and shadowed eyes, flaws amplified, obsession turning me into a ghost of myself. Elena's social media glowed with bridal bliss, fittings in silk that shimmered like liquid moonlight, spa days with cucumber slices cooling her lids. But cracks showed. A canceled dress alteration, David's tense posts about cold feet. My anonymous hints escalated, an email to the officiant with concerns about the couple's history, forcing a discreet inquiry that Elena brushed off with lies. The air thickened with suspense, each day a step closer to the tipping point. Moral doubts assailed me. This wasn't just payback. It was dismantling her world. Would freeing mine justify the wreckage? The thematic question haunted. Could calculated pain truly break the cycle? Or was I forging a new link? Finally, wedding day dawned crisp and overcast, the San Francisco fog rolling in like a conspirator's cloak. I arrived at dawn, florist badge clipped to my vest, arms laden with blooms that perfumed the van, roses, lilies, the bouquet's deadly heart. The church loomed, Gothic spires piercing the gray sky, bells tolling faintly as guests trickled in, their perfumes mingling with the damp stone scent. Inside, chaos reigned. Ushers adjusting bow ties, the organist warming scales that vibrated through my bones. I wove through, planting the bouquet on the altar with steady hands, though my pulse thrummed like a war drum. Elena arrived in a flurry of lace and laughter, her gown a cascade of ivory silk that hugged her figure like a second skin. She didn't notice me in the periphery, too busy preening in the bride's room mirror, the air thick with hairspray and hushed giggles from her entourage. As the ceremony began, I positioned myself near the sound booth, disguised as tech support, fingers hovering over the app. The processional swelled, guests rising in a rustle of fabrics came. David's face a mask of forced joy at the altar. Elena glided down the aisle, veil shimmering, her arm linked with our uncle's, mom too ill to attend. The vows started, the officiant's voice booming. "Do you, Elena, take this man?" That's when I hit play. The mic activated seamlessly this time, no glitch to betray me. Her confessions poured out, captured from a casual dressing room chat that morning. David and I? It was inevitable. Emma was always so needy, clinging with her trust issues. I made her doubt herself, told her she was unlovable, and poof, she backed off. This wedding? It's mine now. Gasps rippled through the pews, a wave crashing against the stained glass saints. David staggered, the microphone feedback screeching like a banshee. Elena whirled, veil catching the light, her face draining of color as recognition dawned. "Emma!" she shrieked, the sound raw, echoing off vaulted ceilings. I stepped forward then from the shadows, just the torn veil in my hand, ripped not in rage, but symbolism. A deliberate act as the playback looped. Chaos exploded, guests surging to their feet, champagne flutes shattering on the floor in sticky pools, the metallic clink mingling with sobs. Our aunt clutched her pearls, whispering, "Scandal!" while cousins filmed on phones, the flashes like lightning in the dim nave. But the twist came harder than I'd imagined, arising naturally from the recording's full playback. As Elena lunged for the bouquet, trying to smash it, the audio continued. And her job? I spread those rumors to her boss, said she was unstable, sleeping around, got her demoted. She deserved it for being so ordinary. My blood ran cold. Career sabotage? I'd suspected whispers, but not this. Proof she'd torpedoed my promotion, the one that could have stabilized my life post-breakup. The revelation twisted the knife, moral complexity flooding in. This wasn't just personal. She'd systematically dismantled me. Freeing my future meant exposing her fully, but at what cost to my soul? Elena collapsed to her knees, gown pooling like spilled milk, tears carving tracks through her makeup. "Please, Em, sisters." The confrontation was visceral, cinematic in its rawness. I approached the altar, the marble cool under my shoes, incense curling around us like judgmental smoke. David backed away, muttering, "I didn't know," but his eyes held no remorse, just self-preservation. "You two deserve each other," I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. Elena grabbed my wrist, nails digging in, her jasmine scent now cloying, overpowered by the church's musty age. "Why? We were family." Her plea cracked, revealing the complexity. Not pure evil, but ambition's casualty, the sibling who'd shared secrets until her own desires turned venomous. I yanked free, the skin bruising like a brand. Family doesn't gaslight. Don't steal. Guests encircled us, a murmuring jury, as the officiant called for calm. But it was over. The marriage canceled mid-vow. Rings clattering to the floor like discarded oaths. Consequences crashed like the thunder that finally broke outside. Rain lashing the windows in sheets. The reception tent flooded with disinvited guests, but no one stayed. Instead, a hasty exodus, umbrellas blooming like black flowers against the downpour. Elena's breakdown was immediate, hysterical sobs in the bride's room, her bridesmaids fleeing as if contagious. David vanished into the storm, later texting a curt breakup. Family fallout hit hardest. Mom, watching via livestream from her hospital bed, disowned me in a voice message that played on loop in my mind. "You've destroyed us, Emma. Blood is thicker." Cousins unfriended me online. Aunts spread tales of my obsession. Legally, Elena pressed charges for harassment, but the recording's evidence, her own words, cleared me, though the scandal stained my resume further. I got a settlement from David's guilt money, enough to quit my dead-end job and start freelance, but isolation lingered like fog. In the weeks after, sensory ghosts haunted me, the silk veil's tear echoing in dreams, champagne's fizz turning flat in my throat. Therapy sessions peeled back layers, my flaws exposed, trust issues deepened into walls. Elena entered rehab for adjustment disorder, her texts pleading forgiveness, but I blocked them. The cycles break feeling more like a fracture. Theme crystallized in quiet moments. Betrayal cycle breaks only through calculated pain, but does it heal? Satisfaction soured into hollowness. Revenge mended the wound but left a scar, puckered and tender. Walking those rain-slicked streets post-wedding, puddles reflecting fractured streetlights, I felt unbreakable yet utterly alone. Vengeance had rewritten me. Not the unlovable girl, but a woman forged in fire's remnants. Was it worth it? In the ambiguous dawn, I chose to believe yes. But the whisper remained. What if the pain I'd inflicted circled back, inevitable as the next storm? Months passed. The scandal faded, devoured by newer gossip and shinier scandals. San Francisco moved on, as it always did. Its fog erasing footprints, its people too busy chasing the next distraction to remember yesterday's chaos. I rented a small studio near the ocean, where the gulls cried over salt-bitten air and waves erased everything written in the sand. For the first time in years, I slept without nightmares. Therapy helped, slowly, brutally. I learned that revenge hadn't cured me. It had simply ripped open everything that needed to breathe. Beneath the anger was grief, for the sister I'd lost, for the version of myself that once believed love meant loyalty. But healing began in strange ways. I started taking long walks at sunrise, the city washed pale gold, the chill biting and clean. I planted herbs on my windowsill, basil, thyme, rosemary, and for once, growth wasn't metaphorical. Then came a message from Mom. Not forgiveness, not yet. Just 4 words. I miss you, Em. It broke something open. We met a week later at a cafe near the hospital, the one with chipped mugs and soft jazz. Her scarf was loose around her thinning hair, eyes tired but kind. There were tears, yes, but also laughter. Real, fragile laughter. The kind that made the past feel less like a wound and more like a scar you could live with. Elena, she said, was improving in rehab, writing letters she wasn't ready to send. Maybe someday, Mom murmured, stirring her tea, you two can talk again. Maybe, I said, and for once, it didn't feel impossible. Life didn't become perfect. It became quietly honest. I took freelance clients, built a small portfolio, and pitched a campaign for a mental health nonprofit. They hired me full-time within months. Irony or grace, I couldn't tell, but the cause helping others reclaim themselves after emotional manipulation fit like a second skin. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was transforming pain into purpose. One afternoon, I received a small parcel with no return address. Inside was a single white lily, dried and pressed between pages of handmade paper. No note, but I knew the handwriting on the folded corner of the wrapping. Elena's. I didn't cry. I smiled, a quiet, weary smile, and placed it in a frame above my desk. Not as forgiveness, not yet, but as acknowledgement. The cycle had broken, not with vengeance, but with understanding. As the sun dipped behind the Pacific, streaking the sky in molten hues, I stood on the balcony and breathed in the salt, the promise, the calm. The storm had passed. For the first time since that torn veil hit the marble floor, I felt weightless. Not vindicated, free. Because sometimes, the real revenge isn't their downfall. It's your peace.